Man, so this is pretty crazy. This is about Andrew Cuomo, as you guys know, the New York governor. The walls are essentially closing in on him very, very fast, and honestly, this has to be historic to the speed and magnitude with which this has happened, because he really has no allies left. As we're going to talk about in a bit, Schumer and Gillibrand have called on him to resign as a result of the sexual harassment allegations. But after reading this, essentially what this is a bombshell. You know, he has no chance. And it's because it's pretty clear that there's so much evidence, there's so many women coming forward that Cuomo has a past with quote unquote predatory behavior, as you can see here. But this bombshell piece says Cuomo biographer, quote, predatory behavior has been, quote, evident for years. And so it's a pretty lengthy, it's a bit of a lengthy article here. We're definitely going to read through a lot of this stuff. So it says New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, reporter and biographer Michael Shnayerson, on Saturday alleged that Cuomo has had a history of predatory behavior that has been evident for years. In a lengthy article published in Vanity Fair on Saturday afternoon, Shnayerson wrote that the most recent allegations of sexual misconduct and mistreatment of the press against Cuomo are consistent with the New York governor's, quote, checkered past. Shnayerson laid out in the piece that Cuomo had a tense, at times abusive relationship with his ex-wife, strong-armed the press and managed his staff by pitting top aides against one another. Shnayerson alleged that Cuomo's ex-wife, Carrie Kennedy, part of the prominent Kennedy political family, slept in a locked bathroom on more than one occasion, according to a source close to the family. The source also recounted instances of physical abuse by Cuomo against Kennedy. I've been a human rights activist and for women who have abusive husbands, Carrie reportedly told her friend, and here I am enduring this abuse. Cuomo is currently under investigation by the state's attorney general, Letitia James, after multiple women, some former staff members, came forward accusing him of sexual harassment. Just most recently, the Albany Times Union reported that an unnamed aide told a supervisor in the executive chamber that Cuomo had groped her late last year in the governor's mansion. Before these allegations, Cuomo administration, the governor were under fire for failing to report accurate numbers of deaths in nursing homes amid the COVID-19 pandemic. Also notes, of course, that Gillibrand and Chuck Schumer are calling on him to resign as well. Another interesting part, it says in the Saturday article, Shnayerson also detailed poor treatment of journalists, including the governor's own brother, CNN anchor Chris Cuomo. One colleague recalled being shocked after an on-air story Christopher had done when he took a cell phone call from his brother and started cringing under Andrew's withering review. So I guess, Andrew was calling up Chris saying, hey, what the fuck type of stuff. Really giving them the business when he does some news stories. So, who knows what kind of, this is Andrew Cuomo basically gives off the vibe of essentially being this massive douchebag behind the scenes, and he puts off this kind of fake aura of being a leader and all this stuff when in reality he's just an arrogant dickbag. He also, this guy who wrote this article, also explains his own experience with Cuomo, saying he treated me, a member of the press, as someone to be sidelined or co-opted. The biographer also detailed an instance in which both he and the governor were releasing competing books about his life. Shnayerson said Cuomo was determined to beat him to the market and offered to sit for an interview if he released his book at a later date. However, the reporter never got this interview. The governor pulled a fast one. I never did get that interview. His book came out in October 2014, a full 5 months ahead of mine. It was a quintessential Cuomo move. Underhanded, stealthy, self-serving, and hard-ass. So you can see there the kind of scummy stuff that Andrew Cuomo does and is down to do. He's down to pull a fast one like that, lie to you, manipulate you. That's essentially just scamming, is what that is. It goes on, it says, a former Albany journalist on Friday became the 7th woman. 7 women have came out. Holy shit. Forward with allegations against Cuomo. Jessica Bakeman alleged in an article published in New York Magazine that on numerous occasions the governor harassed her, grabbing her arms, touching her waist, and not letting go. Journalists got stiff-armed. Staffers and aides sometimes banished, Shnayerson wrote. He also stated that Cuomo, like his father, had a harsh management style. So basically he's just a douche. And this article is literally coming from a biographer on him, who has personal experience with him, knows him, a lot about him. And I don't see how it's possible for him to stay in power at this point. Literally, like I said, man, once your prominent colleagues start calling you out, you're in big trouble. And so now that Schumer, Gillibrand, AOC, all these people and a lot of people in the state government have called him out and called on him to resign, he's in big trouble. But this story right here that he wrote is really big because it goes into detail of his abusive past, especially with his ex-wife. Goes in to kind of give us a behind the scenes understanding of who Andrew Cuomo really is, with the detailing of the Chris Cuomo story, as well as what he did to the biographer himself. So it's pretty clear that this is a guy who's a douchebag. Definitely has a lot of predatory behavior, definitely probably takes advantage of women. And again, just to reiterate, Schumer and Gillibrand have called on Cuomo to resign. Remember, Kirsten Gillibrand was one of the main people. Actually, it was both Gillibrand and Schumer who actually had called on Franken to resign. It was originally Gillibrand who really called him out, and then Schumer refused to give him due process on the case. So he said, just resign. And so that's what he did. So this is a pretty big bombshell. There's now 7 women. Again, recall that he is now being boxed in by multiple investigations on multiple issues. One on undercounting nursing home deaths and lying about the numbers to inflate his sense of status and his performance on COVID. And the other being the sexual harassment allegations, in which there are now 7 women who have come out against him. So it's very clear that this guy's a disgusting piece of shit. And it'll be really good to see him resign. But he has so far refused to resign. So I don't know what's going to happen here, honestly.